Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Calhoun, one of the founders of Pod TV, and I'd like to invite you to join us on our number one advocate show, Timeshares, Solutions or Surrender, with the subject matter of timeshares, Irene Parker, who has successfully solved a lot of problems. Her do-it-yourself solutions are for people who have become victims of timeshares deceptive acts. And I'm real careful to say deceptive acts because not all of them are deceptive. And we also find solutions through other means to help people enjoy their timeshares as well, because it's supposed to be vacation and we're supposed to enjoy it. And so everyone, you know what? I am celebrating because we are on episode 19 here on July 1st of 2024. And there's Irene, my superhero, who has just helped so many people. Irene, how are things going?
Overwhelming this week. It's been overwhelming, but it's not Irene. It's our organization
That's
that's
right.
helping. We have a board of directors of 8. We're thinking of adding. We've proposed 2 more people being added to the board of Timeshare and Resort Developer Accountability. A group of us in 2019 felt that there needed to be a safe place for people to get straight answers. And it's worked out very well for a lot of people. There were 2 reports. Well, let's start off on a positive note. Last week we had Mike Kennedy, co-founder of Koala, which is an amazing rental platform. And my daughter has her Maui Hill week up for rent. And a couple days after the show, she called me ecstatic that she had a tenant for Maui Hill. We've owned Maui Hill in the family since 1984, and I think this is the first time we weren't able to use it, which brings us to the show today. Before we introduced our guest today, John Raymond of Resort Reseller, who also knows Mike Kennedy. The 2 disturbing reports: exit companies are typically staffed by former timeshare sales agents and executives. So twice this week, it was reported that after the family felt they had been deceived, and let me use one example because this one did resolve. The resort right away realized that this couple was not making this up, and they didn't fall back on the oral representation clause, where the couple had owned a timeshare since 1986, a deeded timeshare. The wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, so they went to their last trip to their resort to see about how to be released. The deed they were completely unaware until they got back home and started getting bills in the mail that the agents had taken that deed, sold them that deed back, sold them a second deed, consolidated that deed into a points program, and they walked out of that meeting not knowing they had purchased $61,000 of points. So they then called the resort, and they were referred to an exit company that tried to charge them $27,000 to be released. The last $12,000, the credit card did not go through because of a fraud alert. And about a couple months later, one of the principals said that we have good news. We're going to waive that $12,000 charge. So I just, I just hope someday the developers realize that they created this mess, because who buying a timeshare 20, 30, 40 years ago would know today that was certain, like guests we've had on with Club Exploria and Vacation Village, that just tell you to find a buyer and there are no buyers. So with that, I'd like to introduce John Raymond of Resort Reseller, we've known each other for quite a long time. And it was an interesting, the reason I know so many timeshare resale brokers is that in 2016, I learned from David Cortese at Magical Realty that my diamond points had no resale value. And I learned that was because if I buy 10,000 points from you, John, I have to buy 5,000 directly from Diamond to, quote, clean those points so that I can book using their club. So everybody turns to the internet, and there was a very aptly named organization, the Licensed Timeshare Resale Broker Association, which we call LATURBA sometimes, and you're a member of it. And I don't know what people thought of this Irene Parker that all of a sudden came out of nowhere. And after that survey, I started writing articles, and I think only one person out of 55 ever asked to be released from my articles. So thank you for joining us. And we go way back. Let's start with Resort Reseller. How long ago did you get started in this? Why did you get started in this? And I think you're still a timeshare owner today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Irene. And yeah, I think you and I probably did meet about the same time you met David Cortese. I think it's been almost a 10-year relationship now. I'm not sure, but I know we've talked for a long time, and I've sent a lot of people to you to try and help resolve their problems. I know you've been successful with many. They've called me back and said thank you. So in 2001 is when I started in the timeshare industry. Larry Hayden is my broker, one of my best friends. He was actually, I've known him for a lot longer than 2001. He was in the timeshare resale and tried to be in the rental business back in the late 80s, early 90s. He started marketing through the bulletin board on the internet. And he called me and asked me if I'd like to try and help him rent timeshares through the bulletin board. Well, that was not successful. I spent about a year trying to make something happen there, and it never did. But later in 2001, I joined him, and I got my real estate license. And I've just had a great time selling timeshares at that time. So as you know, that was 20 plus years ago. And that at that time, our company was probably only, I think there was only 3 companies on the internet at that time. And our company was like the king of the hill, and it was just a lot of fun. People realized that timeshares might cost $30,000, $40,000 at the resort, and they'd just go online and find it for $5,000, $10,000 from us, and we would help them through the process. And it was a lot of fun. We went through a couple of downturns in the market. Right at 9/11 happened right about a few months after I started. And that killed the industry for us for about a year. And then in 2009, when we had the financial market crash in the real estate industry, it took a dip, and it's been going downhill ever since.
And COVID?
COVID, of course, had a big effect on it. In fact, yeah, people just stopped traveling. So the traffic to my website was like almost nothing. People weren't thinking about traveling, so I wasn't getting any possible clients to buy or sell.
Well, there was a article posted. I go to Google News, and it was about how a veteran lost $900,000 to the Mexican cartel in a timeshare exit scam. And to think that the people are so desperate that they're signing off on $10,000, $20,000 to people that call them on their phone is really alarming. And I often quote Mother Teresa when asked who causes the problems of the world. She said, "I do." And it is my belief that the developers caused this. And we were, so a lot of people don't even realize there is a secondary market. And as I mentioned with Diamond Resorts, there are certain resorts you accept no listings for, correct?
That's absolutely right.
Yes, because they've completely destroyed the secondary market. Their restrictions are so great that, and you can pay as much. I've known people that have, we just recently had a resolution from someone that bought a $296,000 transaction. It was 7 deeds and it was completely deceptive. And fortunately, they were resolved. Can you tell me why the secondary market, well, let's start with who's doing things right. We always go to Disney and as the hallmark for who's doing things right. I would like, Kim, if we could bring my new friend Cassandra Terry on to our show. Hi, Cassandra.
Hi, how are
Yeah,
you?
good. So Cassandra is brand new to Timeshare, John, and this is the third time I've asked her to pop in and say hello.
I could say,
And she
Hi.
she purchased from Vacation Village. And go ahead and tell us one more time, for a lot of people are tuning into our show for the first time, of this bizarre proposal that you were presented with at Grandview in Las Vegas.
April of last year, I went with family and friends just to have a getaway after the death of my mom. So we was on the strip, got invited to do a presentation. They offered us some money and plus some tickets, entertainment tickets. So we said, okay, why not? It was just only 90 minutes. 90 minutes turned into 4 hours. The gentleman offered us a timeshare from an elderly couple, 80 years old, that was not traveling anymore, that they had bought back. So he said it was like 6,000 and something. So he also told us,
It was a, if I remember, an every other year 2-bedroom. Now,
right, 2 bedroom.
question one, John, that sounds like it, as far as buying it from a developer, that sounds like a pretty reasonable price, would you
Oh,
say?
sure.
yeah, $6,000 is a reasonable price from a developer.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So then, so far we're good.
Yeah.
And
So
but
then,
you had trouble even coming together with the down payment, right?
right, they were asking for $1,000 down. I was like, no, right now we don't have that. So he told us, well, Super Bowl is coming, and if you allow me, I can sell if you bank your weeks, I can sell those for you, rent it out, and that would cover your $6,000. So I talked to my kids and I was like, okay, it's just 6,000. If he's gonna do that, then let's do it. So we jumped on it. We put probably like $299 down. And in order to get our RCI number or the other number, we had to pay the remaining balance. So we did that. After I got that, probably in August, I contacted him. He didn't answer. About almost a year later, then he responded. He had been sick. He wasn't, and gave me some other information for me to be able to rent out the timeshare.
Well, first of all, Destination Timeshare, who's going to be an coming guest on our show, he just posted that at Westgate they told him, "Oh, we have something that just came in." So you want to create a sense of urgency, whether
Right.
it's a Memorial Day sale or a July mattress sale, and get some excitement going. But the biggest problem is you were going to rent out your week at Super Bowl, but he sold you a Florida timeshare, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it was Vacation Village at Weston. Now, we followed his advice. Sherida, that's working for Marriott, rentals and resales. She made some contacts for Cassandra and was told that it is not allowed if you, and it's very confusing, John, so I'm glad you're here to give Cassandra and I this 101 on exchanges. So 2 questions. I've had industry experts disagree on whether they prefer RCI as an exchange company or Interval International as an exchange company. But when Sherida called Interval International, they told her it was not allowed to deposit the junk timeshare, the vacation village, and then turn around and get a rental for Aruba Marriott that is desirable and rent that. So can you clear up the mud?
Well, no, that's absolutely true. You can't rent out I don't believe that you can rent out an exchanged week through either of RCI or Interval International. That's just part of the policy. It's a benefit for you. It's not for to be rented out. You could give it to one of your family members, and then maybe some people are renting those, but that's just under the guise of family members doing it. And you're not going to get a nice week for what you just termed a junk week. It's absolutely true. We used to be able to do that back in when I first started in the industry in the early 2000s. We could deposit junk weeks and get nice weeks, but that all changed after the 2009 financial market crash.
So, and if she were to, first of all, if she wanted to, okay, and Destination Timeshare has agreed it is a violation of the exchange company terms and conditions. It has been known to lock down. And Terry McCain is asking, why can't people rent their weeks? Well, John, you have a little bit of experience in the rental business, don't you? So like if Cassandra called you and said, I want to rent my Westin Vacation Village week, you would say probably that there's so little demand. But what timeshare companies do rentals work? Obviously, Koala was here last week, and he's got a business renting timeshares.
Well, first off, we have to discover whether or not your timeshare will allow you to rent your unit. Some do and some don't. And there's so little money in it for a broker like myself to get involved that I just don't specialize in it. I tried a couple of times to rent out timeshares, but it just took an enormous amount of time, an enormous amount of background work that had to be done. So now I would refer you to Koala because I trust them, number one, and I've actually had firsthand experience. I own a couple timeshares myself. I've posted them with them. I know that they do an honest background check of whether that week is rentable, whether the developer allows rentals, and whether the week that I put in there is really a real live active week, or is it something that I just made up. So that all has to be discovered. If your timeshare developer allows rentals, Koala will certainly do their best to try and get it rented out, but there's no guarantees.
What about compared to using Red Week or Timeshare Users Group Tug?
I use all of those for marketing resales, and I've even put my own rentals up there to try and draw in people who would be interested in renting my weeks, because Koala allows that. With Koala, I can still try to keep marketing mine, and the first guy that wins wins. And so, but I've never been able to rent mine out successfully. The way I rent my weeks out is I give them to our developer, and they rent them out for me, and I get maybe I get all of my maintenance fee back, maybe I don't.
What resort, do you mind sharing what resort that is?
I use Gaslamp. I own timeshares at Gaslamp San Diego right now, and I always book the 4th of July week, because it's a beautiful week down on the harbor in San Diego. And I always get great, they always are able to find somebody to rent it at a very high price. And so it usually covers my maintenance fee. I've done several others, and they're deeded weeks right here in Southern California, and they all have rental programs inside the developer themselves has that. So you're able to just sign a form giving them the right to use them. And they, after a month or so, they send you a check.
Did you say it was called Gas Lamp?
Gas Lamp,
And that's the name of the timeshare resort?
Yeah, Gas Lamp, downtown San Diego. It's about a 100-year-old resort. It's just that most beautiful, ancient, old, wood railed, wood roomed, wood elevator. It's just a beautiful little resort downtown San Diego.
Well, it has to be a good resort because I've never heard of them. People don't contact me to ask to tell me how much they like their resort. So I only hear from people like Cassandra that has been. Now, Cassandra, were you able to go into the Koala website and sign up for Koala?
Yes, I did sign up for it.
And have you posted a listing yet? Or are we waiting for
I
Sheridan to be
haven't,
armed?
right. I'm waiting for Sheridan, but I'm gonna need some help trying to get around the website.
Okay, all right. Well, and I know that Koala has different levels that you can join to do that. Now, John, would you agree that if you don't know, and I'm not a rental person, I've always been terrified to rent. I did rent once from Koala, and now my daughter has rented with Koala, but would you be safe to say that if you have no timeshare experience and you're brand new to it, you're far better off being with Koala than with a Red Week or a Tug, which are both great resources. And I suggest you join, especially Tug. They have really good forums on there, but those two resources are completely for sale by owner. You can't talk to Red Week about what to list for, John, right? You just have to, it's all do it yourself online.
Well, they do offer a full service now at Red Week. So that has been a problem for resellers, because they offer, you can go on and they will do the whole thing. They have they have brokers that work for Red Week. I've actually applied to work for them, and they just have too many. So and they have enough to take care of the volume right now. So they'll take a timeshare and list it and market it and sell it and go through escrow and do everything. They have a service fee for that.
And if anybody is thinking about buying a timeshare, number one, so few people know there even is a secondary market. And the number two, you can, if you're going to buy a timeshare, don't buy one that has no resale value and no market. What I like about Disney is, instead of, unlike Blue Green, that are suspending hundreds of accounts for renting, including some that we've gone over the show before that in no way were engaged in commercial activity, and yet suspended the account of someone that over 20 years had bought over $100,000 worth of points. So knowing with each resort what can be resold and what can be rented is really complicated. Now, I get calls all the time from, we have some you have some vacation credits. And I've asked some of the other people, Cassandra, that we've had on the show, that I think John is going to know these names. We had Jessica O'Daniel from Redbud Realty on this show, and her father is 30 years in the timeshare resale business, now happily retired. He doesn't even want to answer any more of my questions about timeshares anymore. And Jessica is what I call a general practitioner. So you should write down Redbud Realty in the timeshare hotspot of Oklahoma because she married an Oklahoma boy. But that is another place. Now, I believe with Koala and with most of the resale brokers, I do know that my friend that does Marriott resales, he does want you to sign an exclusive listing. How many, if Cassandra wanted to try and sell her timeshare, and she had one that was marketable, did you require an exclusive listing, or can you list with multiple resale brokers?
I believe the industry is so difficult. I believe that it's so difficult to sell a timeshare. I won't take an exclusive. I will not even, and I won't take an exclusive. Yeah, no, that's the answer. No, I won't. I make sure that everybody has a right to sell their timeshare through as many brokers or advertisements as possible. It's what's called an open listing in the real estate industry, where we don't have a listing agreement. The first guy that sells it wins is what I tell people.
Okay, we seem to we lost Cassandra, so I've taken her off the stage. But
Okay.
it's really good to have real people on here. Now, what about all of these callers that call you and tell you that you have vacation credits and they can help you to market those?
You mean trying
I
to help?
just, yeah, I just get calls out of the blue.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I have a leg up on them. I just tell them I'm a reseller, and I believe you're lying.
Well, what I've started to do is I've started to ask them, first of all, give me your first and last name. And they give me their first and last name. And then what is the name of your company? We're in rentals. I said, no, what is the name of your company? And it's usually a click. I don't usually get to the next question. Is there a phone number I can call you back?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's fun to interrogate them. Now, one thing I want to bring up, because there has been more confusion here than anywhere, is the Hilton Grand Vacations that has acquired first Diamond Resorts in 2021 and then more recently Blue Green Vacations. And we've had a number on the other person that's been, John Cushman is in Timeshare Specialists. He was, he said people ask him, what's the best timeshare to buy? And he said, you can't answer that as a blanket statement. Do you feel that you have to sort of ask people what their goals are before recommending just this is the best timeshare, even though we often say that Disney is the best timeshare followed by Marriott?
I do. I interview them. I want to know what their goals are. And I try to direct them to something that I think will have value when they decide to stop vacationing. So I start, like you say, with Disney and then Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, Westin, and I say, now these will have they will have resale value. The rest of them, in my opinion, have no resale value, and I don't know why you'd want to buy them unless you just have a special resort you want to go to every year.
And then you could buy it on resale if you wanted to do that.
Yeah. The two gas lamps that I have the two gas lamps I have right now were given to me. I have people all the time call me and say, I need to get out of my timeshare and I need to get out of it today. And I've just told them, well, there's only one way to do that. If I like your timeshare, you can give it to me. If I don't like your timeshare, I can't help you because it's not saleable.
Well, and Destination Timeshare just told me that I never thought about this before, but he said Disney only really is great if you like to go to Disney World, and I guess that would be California and Florida.
Yes, and that person that said that's absolutely true. I don't see I think Disney's a great resort if you're a Disney fan. Otherwise, I think it's kind of expensive.
Yeah, well, it does hold its resale value. I've known people that have sold it and made more than what they paid for it. Terry had asked, is there a way to learn the stats of what are the best to rent out? Let's start with the worst. The worst would be Blue Green because of suspending accounts. Diamond Resorts, you can't rent to anyone you don't know, and you can't use a third-party platform. Wyndham we've had someone challenging Wyndham's philosophy that you can only rent through Wyndham approved sites. One of those is Vacation Share. And if you go to Vacation Share, it doesn't say it's Wyndham. But if you go to book something, the only choices are Wyndham. But it's with Wyndham also issuing cease and desist letters. And we have an upcoming guest that's been a Wyndham WorldMark owner for years and years and received a cease and desist letter that sales agents that are encouraging that you buy additional points to rent. So you follow their advice, and then you get a cease and desist letter in the mail where they can take your $100,000 worth of points. And who's going to pay the maintenance fees if you can't use the points eventually? Resell them. So some people have called it an inventory grab. The people that have used Wyndham's rental program, we talked to Mike last week that if you give them a week to rent and they only rent for 4 days, and then they take 40% of the commission. So it's hard, it would be unlikely to even make back your maintenance fees. So, and we had talked, I was really shocked that I didn't know that Wyndham points are deeded. So is there a difference, to answer Terry's question, of, I would say difficult to rent out Wyndham? Would it be easier to rent out WorldMark?
I don't think it's any easier.
Okay, so that one. So as far as renting, now Marriott, I do know that Newport Coast, Aruba, some Hilton Heads those are easier to rent. You've had quite a bit of experience with Marriott, haven't you?
Yeah, over the years, we've had specific buyers that have bought multiple Hawaii Marriotts, multiple I think the most successful is the Marriott. One person, and I'm not sure if he's still in the industry, he bought millions and millions of Wyndham points, and he was in the rental business. And I haven't talked to him in a few years, but the Marriott is, in my opinion, the best, because people want to go to Hawaii. So this person, he built a whole business for his retirement by buying Hawaii Marriotts.
Well, and the whole thing, the mess with the rental scam and encouraging people to buy points to rent and then getting your account suspended, this Gestapo-like crackdown started with the mega renters. So that's what we would describe your friend that you said ended up with millions of Wyndham points, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason is it's in competition with the resort.
Right.
It's right. And their goal is to get new bodies in the door.
Right.
And using those rooms for promotion.
Yeah.
So, and as far as resale, have you worked in reselling Marriott points and weeks?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's been probably the bulk of my business for all these years. That and Wyndham points used to sell really well, and so did WorldMark points sold really well. My California resort, Carlsbad Inn, I still buy and sell those myself when I know that I can get a good deal.
Carlsbad is an independent resort?
part of Grand Pacific Resorts, and they have many resorts here in the San Diego area, but the only one that's really has any resale value is the Carlsbad Inn.
Now, resale value for Hilton, I've been told that you can rent out your home week with Hilton, but you can't rent, they prohibit renting out points.
I think that's true.
That's true. What is the resale value for Hilton compared to Disney, would you say? Or is it comparable?
Not even comparable. Now, Disney, has a problem because they have a right to use date. So at some point, they're worthless.
Oh, this is a funny question. Destination said, do we know Doug Gallagher? He had a YouTube channel called Talk Timeshares on video. It looks like he stopped videos about 6 years ago. So John and I, Kim, this format with we can't hear. Kim is muted. Kim.
Yeah, they
okay.
might have scared him away. Who knows? You've heard, how whistleblowers get threatened sometimes. But I do have a question. Okay, so and of course I can't recall much on them telling me whether I could rent my properties out because I was so drunk when they sold me the timeshare.
Of
I
course.
really was. Actually, when you look at the signature, I was very drunk. But the idea that I heard a few things, I recalled a few things. One was being that they would buy it back from me, and they didn't. But the other was, here's some points that we're going to give you. These points, and I'm a big person for points. I travel a lot. I love points. They pulled up this app, put it on my phone, and they showed me, oh, look, you use our app. We're going to give you this app, and you can get these discounts for like $35 a night at this, luxury hotel. That's, $400 a night. And you can use your points to that. We're going to give you 156,000 points. And then I remember them pulling up a screen because this went fast in 4 hours. But they pulled up the screen and they said, oh, look, that you can use all these points that we're going to give you at least for 4 weeks this year. Look how you can do this. Now, I'm going to tell you, okay, and this is honest to whatever faith you have, okay? I will put it on all religions, honest, that I tried to use those points just to see if I could, and 156,000 points were not worth more than one night.
That's right. Yeah, and you're talking about Wyndham. Is it okay?
No. But let's talk about Wyndham. I'm sure they're the same.
Oh yeah. So I had 156,000 points at Wyndham, and I used them to stay for 4 days at an off season in Oceanside, which I live in Oceanside, but I just love it down by the beach. So I used them, and their plan for the night is to come on down for the wine social. That might have been where you got started, Kimberly, but it was.
No, I got started on the plane. It was St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Anyway, my wife and I were downstairs, and we'd already made the decision. We are not going to go to their upgrade meeting. We're just going to have an enjoyable time here for 4 days. So they said, come on in for the wine social. So we did, and we were having a great time. And this person comes around and says, would you like to go for the upgrade information meeting? And I said, no, we don't want to do that. And they said, well, we're offering a $100 American Express card if you do. And my wife her eyes got really big. And she said, I said, no, we're not doing this. And so we kept drinking. Well, they came back again and said, I can't believe it, John, but my manager, I've never seen him do this before. He's going to give you 2 American Express cards. American Express cards. And my wife says, we'll come. So 8 hours later, I had to tell them I'm calling the police
Yeah.
because you won't give me my driver's license back. I'm leaving right now, and I'm not even going to ask you to give me my driver's license anymore. I'm calling the police. I'm going back to my room. I'm not drinking any more of your wine. I'm going to buy my own bottle. And
I gave my wallet back.
This was Wyndham? Was this Wyndham?
yes.
I've heard
Oh.
Wyndham was like that. Yeah. I'm learning so much. I mean, Irene and I just met a few months ago, but and my situation happened in 2023. I was 1 year after my husband's death, and my sister and I decided to go to Chicago for that weekend, just to kind of not have to think about anything. And we were unfortunately had way too much to drink on the plane because I got us first class. We landed. We ended up having to go to a meeting I didn't know about. It was a bad news. I kept telling him I'm too drunk. I can't read. I can't buy anything. I can't read contracts. And they kept pushing for 4 hours. By then I was coming off a hangover and dehydrated, and we were both starving. She kept going, I got to go get something to eat. And I'm like, don't leave me.
Well, and Kim, John used to be where you're sitting today. Destination Timeshare mentioned Talk Timeshares. So John was host of, what did we call it, John? Timeshare Talks?
Timeshare Talks.
Yeah, and then
There
we
you go.
learned that there was another guy in Mexico that had a show of the same name. So I think we tried to say Timeshare Talks for consumer. And then, so this one is Talk Timeshares, and Brian at Tug is, I think, Talking Timeshares. So they're
Okay.
kind of like exit companies. They all sound alike. They all have advocate in there. They all have consumer in their name. So we learned, John contributes that to his declining interest in being in timeshares because of
The exit
interviewing some of the
companies,
guests that we interviewed.
exit companies are scarier and, to me, more damaging than the timeshare themselves, because they are going to, say, okay, we're going to get you out of this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to even give you points, another 156,000 you can't use. But and I got them recorded. I started taking it recorded to every meeting, and I even told the guy, I'm recording you. And he goes, oh yeah. And he just kept going. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so I asked them for the contract. No, we can't give you the contract until you give us the money. And I'm like, you want $16,000, then you'll give me the contract. I want my attorney to read the contract, and then I will think about paying you if you could get me out of this. So they know that how to be the predator as well. They're just, actually, I think some of them are former timeshare sales agents in the exit companies. But I tell people, even some of the so-called attorneys are just as dangerous and just as bad. You have to be very careful. Actually, there's so many one advocate group, and then you have resellers and things like John and Koala. Come to us, because we're going to talk to you, and Irene doesn't charge. So
yeah, none of our volunteers. Now, Brian, Timeshare Users Group is the name of their website, but Brian does YouTube interviews, and they're called Talking Timeshares. And I love his YouTubes. They are really interesting. And he started the last one with the definition of voluntary, of your own free will, in reference to ARDA automatically billing a small amount on maintenance fees to raise $5 million a year. So I just wanted to, here we go.
I think though, I'm gonna give some advice here. Given the day and time and what the new trend is, it should be called timeshare cancellation.
No. Wait a minute. We have
class, not mastery.
Wayne Robinson was our co-host with John Raymond, and we distanced ourselves from Wayne Robinson. Okay, the reason is because I edited Wayne's book. I wrote the foreword. He did a second edition, a first edition, and I think he's on the third book. On the third book, he has claimed that a resort must accept a transfer. And I have talked to many industry people that do not agree with that. Florida has gone so far as to pass a law saying, because some people got the idea to find a homeless person, would you like a vacation for a week? And transfer that timeshare to them, knowing they could not pay the maintenance fees. And I asked when John Cushman of Timeshare Specialist was on our show, and I thank you for asking that because, you know, we want to clarify that we don't agree with that philosophy. I
Right.
asked John Cushman, who had on his website guaranteed transfers. And when I asked him about that on our show, he said that is only with resorts we have a working relationship with. But Mr. Robinson is making the claim that all resorts have to accept a transfer. So John, can you weigh in on that?
It's not true. They don't have to accept a transfer. They they can ask for anything they want to prove whether or not these people are going to be able to pay the maintenance fees. I think that a lot of exit companies were using bogus trusts and things like that to transfer timeshares out of people's names. That's
You
not.
know, you two have, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm just curious here. You two have been involved with timeshares for quite some time, have had seen some good experiences, had good experiences. What do you think? It just seems to me, maybe it's just because I see the dark side, but is there a trend now of more deceptive acts than before? And what do you think is the cause of that?
Well, I have a theory. My theory is that the timeshare industry has changed because we don't have this, we have new technology. I believe, and my kids are the ones that told me this, Dad, why would anybody buy a timeshare? We have an Airbnb app on our phone. We can touch a button and we can go anywhere we want to. Yeah, we may pay the same amount or even a little bit more than the maintenance fee would have been had we been owners, but we have no commitment long term. We can go in there and go to that resort, go anywhere in the world we want to. Why would we buy a timeshare? So back in the day when I first started, and back when Irene first started purchasing in the 80s, it was a great idea. There was no timeshare. There was no internet. There was
Right.
the travel industry per se the way it was. Things have changed a lot now, and if we don't have the same group of people interested in that type of travel. People nowadays want to make our instant gratification. We want to click. We want to go there. We don't want to plan a year ahead, maybe 2 years ahead. We don't want to do that. And so the young people who are our buying market are not buying. They're not interested in buying timeshares. Now there's thousands of us, like at my age, that want to sell our timeshares. So we have a law of supply and demand problem right now, and that's why these timeshares, in my opinion, don't sell well. There's very few buyers, and those who are going to be a buyer are going to be a smart buyer. They're going to buy something that's going to have a resale value. I suggest to everybody you should go if you want to know if your timeshare has any value. If somebody's calling you and telling you that your timeshare has a lot of value, just go on to redweek.com, go on to resortnetwork.com or TUG, Timeshare User Group, and look at the other people who are trying to sell their timeshares. Look at the values. You're going to see that you could have a nice timeshare and you're going to see some people have got it listed for $20,000. Other people, the exact same timeshare is listed for $5. Why?
I don't look at timeshares only or sell my timeshare now.
No, neither one of those. Don't look there, because you're going to see exactly opposite, because they've called that company, and the company's assured them that their timeshare is worth tens of thousands of dollars. And by the way, our fee is only whatever it is. It's pretty high, actually. So.
Well, and you function like a traditional broker, and all the resale brokers I know are just like a traditional resale broker where you get paid at closing.
Yeah, there's no.
Is this what we're talking about? Let's go there.
Yeah.
Resort reseller.
Yeah. So come to me. I would be. In fact, I am in the real estate business. I sell homes. I manage homes with a property management company. We don't get paid unless we produce. And we'll sit down with you and we'll go through the whole analysis, and we'll tell you what we think it's worth. We'll do the advertising and try and sell it. When we sell it is when we get paid, at the close of escrow.
Well, and you had a listing on your site for what was called Divvy. And sometimes it's really hard to know who is this, what is this, because it was called Royal Resorts. And then I looked that up, and there's a Royal Resorts Signature Club. That must be the booking site for the Royal Resorts, but then it also falls under Divvy Hotels Marketing, because your listing said Divvy, I believe.
I believe it says Royal Resorts. I'd have to look at that, but
I think it said Divvy, and so I went to Tug, and I found that they have no rescission clause. And when they bought the Divvy, they were told that, well, we have an office in North Carolina. But then when they asked to rescind, they said they had no rescind clause. And they said, well, every state has a rescind clause. They were within the rescind period. And they said, oh, well, we have an office there, but we abide by the laws of Cancun, of Mexico. So you have to be so careful. It's so complicated and convoluted. One thing I will say about Wayne Robinson, that we co-hosted Timeshare Talks, or whatever we called it, about 12 interviews, is he knew more. His book is everything about timeshare before, during, and after the sale. So and I've got it right over here. Here it is. I've got all 3 editions. I've got this one, and here's the 2022 edition that I got upset about the transfer thing. But we, there's a Veterans in Active Duty. That was one of our past shows. I thought you would like
that. That's why I pulled that up.
That was Adam Seiler that was our guest on that show. But Wayne does know everything there is to know about anything concerning a Mexico timeshare. Yeah. He's a Navy veteran. He worked, if he didn't work at the resort, he knows everything about the resort. He was a former executive. He was a former contract reviewer. So I have the highest regard for his knowledge level. Yeah, and destination agree. Not just Aruba. I think, yes, I believe Aruba does not have a rescission clause either. Have you worked in many?
Let me ask the question. Does that mean that you have no rights to rescind, or does that mean that you can rescind any time you want?
No, you have no right whatsoever to rescind.
And I think you're talking about a direct sale when you're purchasing from them.
Yes. Yes, like in the U.S., every state has a state mandated cancellation period, three days to 10 days. Florida is 10 days. Mexico destination timeshare is saying is 5 days. So Aruba, so when the person was told in Cancun that there's no rescission period, on that same Tug post, they said that Westgate is notorious, and I've heard it with other developers. If you go back to the resort to cancel your timeshare, the worst was an active duty service member that has been hit with a $66,000 judgment, disputing a $12,000 timeshare purchase. On the way back to the hotel, the same day they signed, she said she wanted to cancel, and they said, it's too late. You already signed the contract. They were in Nevada. They had 5 days to cancel. So obviously there was a rescind period, but they were just trying to dodge it, which
Well,
happens
most
a
of
lot.
the time, though, that even 5 days isn't enough from the time you sign, because they get you on the first day you come in, and you're usually on vacation 3 to 7 days. So, you're not going to sit there and read the contract and rescind at that in that 5 day 7 day. They don't even have 7 days. But I find it all just very prejudiced against the consumer, just very prejudiced against the consumer rights. And I don't know how or why anything like this has ever gotten past any of our consumer right government that's supposed to exist. But I don't see any of this in the benefit or welfare for the consumer. I see it scamming them more so. So
Well, and we have our Facebook groups of people that have been harmed, people that they didn't have access to the booking site until after the contract rescission period ended. So they had no way of even knowing what they bought. Sometimes first year's use is not until the next year. So
right.
That's why it is so important
Or 90
to,
days.
yeah, to reach out to John Raymond at Resort Reseller, Jessica O'Daniel at Redbud Realty, Sheridan Nett is at True Timeshare Realty, or David Cortese at Magical Realty. And Judy Kozlowski is our go-to for Hilton Grand Vacations. So there's just
Or even go
no,
Koala. Those guys have been very
yes.
helpful too. And or us.
My suggestion would be to rent from Koala first and see if you like the timeshare.
Well, except that if
Hey,
you rent
that's a
from
good idea,
Koala,
John. That's a
it,
very good idea.
but when you check in, you'll get roped into a timeshare presentation and you'll buy one. So
Don't
it's
drink
much
the wine.
better. It's much better to call John or Jessica or John Cushman and just say, I would like to rent something. Now, John, are you doing rentals at all, or just your personal ones? Okay,
Just
yeah.
one. There's just not enough money into it. I don't. Mike Kennedy has done a tremendous job, because you got to do a lot of research to be able to guarantee that the tenant is getting what the landlord trying to rent.
It's
That
a
you have
lot of
ocean
work.
front and not parking lot view.
Yeah, don't drink their Kool-Aid either. It's very dangerous. No, but more important, don't ever enter into a meeting with someone and hand them your driver's license. Don't do it.
No,
And
no.
don't stay longer than 90 minutes. After 90 minutes, tell them you have to go and leave. And I have a young friend, he's been doing that with his wife. They've been getting free vacations, and every time they get upgraded to free plane tickets and everything, they keep saying nope, and they walk out. So weigh in your rights, try it out first, but be very careful. Know what you're getting into, know the information. Irene is a good person to reach out to. Our show is great for that, as well as the websites and Facebook. But everyone, thank you very much for watching us, for the comments, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Timeshares, Solutions, or Surrender. Take care, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Hi.